Good day. Today I will be discussing presentation of rules. There are plenty of arguments about how grammar should be presented, whether rules should be given directly or deductive, or whether students should ask to figure out the rules for themselves, inductive. Let's go first with deductive teaching, which is more reasonable. It is a direct to the point since it only needs a clear presentation until rule is being internalized. Cognitive co-teaching as well as grammar translation are examples of the rule first, deductive approach. On the other side, we have inductive teaching, which seem to be the best way to ensure learning unlike with deductive. This type of learning is not a spoon feeding since students are responsible in working out the rule. An inductively learned rule is conscious mental representation of a linguistic generalization since it focuses on its form, while acquired rule is not conscious since the acquirer attempts to understand the message. So let's proceed to the acquisition and inductive learning similarities and differences. So for acquisition, we have data first, rule follows. Rule is subconscious, focus on meaning, slow progress, requires large amount of data. While in inductive learning, same with acquisition, data first, rule follows. Rule is conscious, focus on form, may occur quickly, and may occur after exposure to small amount of data. Let's get down to sequencing and learning. Grammatical sequencing was undesirable when the goal is acquisition. It seems reasonable that we should present rules one at a time in order when the goal is conscious learning. Second language acquisition theory does not yet make predictions as to the exact learning sequence. It does not predict, however, something about the set of rules can be learned. First is if the goal of grammar teaching is in fact to provide students with monitor, simplicity will play a large role. We can only teach what is learnable and restricting the set even more. What is portable? What can be carried around in students' head? The second is, unless our goal is language appreciation, we don't have to teach rules that our students have already acquired. How, then, do we know which item to teach? We could convincingly perform a detailed error analysis on which student compare the result of tests that top learning and acquisition and determine those items that have been acquired but have not been learned and focus on the set. Let's proceed to another controversy related to conscious learning, which is the notes on error. Second language acquisition theory has answers to 4 of these questions, answers that are all other implications in this book, themselves hypothesis. In this case, I am predicting that if error correction is done according to the principles described below, it will be effective. The first question is, should errors be corrected? According to the second language acquisition theory, when error correction works, it does so by helping the learner change his or her conscious mental representation of a rule. In other words, it affects learned competence by informing the learner that his or her current version of a conscious rule is wrong. The second question is, when should errors be corrected? The implication of second language acquisition theory are similar. If error correction aims at learning, it is logical to suppose that the condition for error correction should be identical to the conditions for utilizing learning. We should focus our student on form and correct their errors. only when they have time and when such diversion of attention does not interfere with communication. This implies no error correction in free conversation, but allows for error correction on written work and grammar exercises. The third question is, which error should be corrected? These appear to be the modest contribution to the issue of which errors are to be corrected. Many teachers try to point out. This suggestion reduces the size of tasks considerably within the small set defined by the three characteristics of learnable, portable, and not yet acquired. We still have to make decisions, and here considerations such as frequency, contribution to communication, and irritability may be relevant. The overall task, however, is reduced enormously. Let's get down to our last question. How should errors be corrected? The first thing to do is errors corrected are limited to the learnable and portable rules. Next, errors are corrected under conditions that allow monitor use. This will give the learner time to reconsider the rule that was violated. The next thing to do is measure the evaluating efficacy of error correction that are administered under conditions that allow monitor use, to allow the learner time to refer to his or her conscious knowledge. And lastly, subjects are monitor use. Many students are interested in the study of the structure of language. They may be interested in language change, dialects, or etc. Especially satisfying for some student is learning what has already been acquired. Teaching grammar as subject matter can result in language acquisition in one instance. However, when the target language is used as a medium instruction, acquisition occurs in these classes when students are interested in the subject matter. Grammar often occurs. Both teachers and students are convinced that the study of formal grammar is essential for second language acquisition, and the teacher is skilled at presenting explanations in the target language so that students can understand.